Welcome to the Breakdowns for Breakfast podcast. I'm here with Cedric.
Hi.
Yeah, and we're going to do an episode today that's going to revolve around vocalists, metal vocalists in particular, because we, that's one of the things we have in common, I guess, is that we both are metal, deathcore, death metal vocalists.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
that's the way we. I mean, we talked about it in the first episode, but that's the main way why we saw each other for the first time.
Right. Yeah. Music in general, but then definitely the fact that we both were vocalists, we hit it off because of that for sure. So, we're gonna try and do a bit of a shorter episode than last time. No promises. Last time was a 2-hour episode. We're going to try and do a more digestible, I guess, podcast format, but no promises.
Not easy when the subjects are fun and interesting to talk about.
That's the thing. And if I'm looking at the list right now, I'm seeing certain topics that we could go on for very long times. So we're going to have a few of these a little more rapid fire, I guess, maybe with less explaining and just kind of power through it, because we do have a lot of really interesting topics, I think, to talk about in terms of everything that's vocalists. And I don't know how we were brought up into all that and some of our thoughts on different, I guess, vocal tropes and trends and all that. So let's start it off with some icebreakers. All right. So what if we're talking influences or like favorite vocalists, what would you say were some of your influences or vocalists that you admire most?
I think I learned how to scream by listening to Disfigured Elegance, like Matt Pocket or R.I.P. and later on some Beheading of a King. So I was listening to those two bands like heavily when I was a teenager, like the first like heavy deathcore. I think I started to listen to Beheading of a King and Disfigured Elegance even before I went into like the big heavy deathcore hitters like Suicide Silence or Whitechapel or thing like that. And I think I was always on YouTube watching his covers and everything. So yeah.
Well, he had an incredible range and was definitely that one kid from the area that had like those Phil Bozeman type like gutturals and lows and stuff.
It was unheard of, I think, at this time, like that the kid like. I mean, and he was the way he looked too, like he was like emo-ish, scene, screamo stuff, and he was so brutal. That was like a contrast between his image and the way he sounded. So, yeah, I think, and I mean, he had a lot of charisma too. So, the whole package was crazy. And from the vocals themselves to the way he presented himself and like his attitude and everything. I mean,
he was a rock star, definitely, in like that sense of the word, right?
And when you're a teenager and you see someone like that is a bit older than you, that sounds like this and looks like this and like acts like this, you're like, oh man, who's that guy? He's so cool, you know? So I had a crush on this guy vocal wise for a while, and then I started to do some vocals by.
I think it shows actually, because you definitely do go for that. Those low gutturals and that type of vocal in general. Like now that you mention it, I can definitely hear it.
Yeah, like the mids, like the mids, you know, like the like doing mids with a low technique, something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of like how you're. It feels like you're moshy. What's that in English? Like
chewing.
Yeah, like you're chewing your words.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I really love this. I really love this kind of technique and sound. So yeah, Matt Pocket was good at that. And then I'm still not anymore, but I had literally like a cult following of Brendan Murphy of Counterparts. I like his lyrics to the way his fry sounds to his new project, and in which he's super brutal. I mean, everything that he does turns to gold, in my opinion. And he's one of, like, if not my favorite vocalist ever.
Yep.
I mean, he has like, I mean, he doesn't have the biggest range. He's doing basically the same thing every time, but there's so much emotion and so much like control and everything. Then and the guy looks just fun. So
yeah, that's
I love
something
him. That's great.
we'll get into. I guess emotion a little later on too.
Yep. And the former Northlane vocalist Adrian Fittipaldis, for the fries and for the nasty lows that he had, that he couldn't do anymore, unfortunately, like later on. But I mean, that's a
weird one for me, because I never, I think his vocals complemented the music very well, but he definitely didn't have a great singing voice, like objectively, and his screams were all right. But I think there was a big hype around him, basically because there was a big hype around the band and he was a part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the music. If we speak about what made Northlane and what made Northlane famous, like I don't know in English, but en guillemets, made him famous.
Marks. Yeah,
in quotation. Yeah, it was like the heavy breakdowns and the space stuff, and the lyrics maybe. So it was the whole package.
Yeah.
And another vocalist I like a lot that influenced me later on, Joe from Fit for an Autopsy.
Yeah.
Like the mostly for the like fry with like notes in it, like singing, screaming stuff.
He's got a really I don't know how to say it, but he has a very clean raw vocal, right? Like it doesn't sound super gritty. No. It just sounds like super consistent and just like a wall of sound, right? You can just tell that.
Super.
Yeah.
Yes, he's really good, and he has like, I think from all the vocalists I mentioned, he's the one with the most control. Yeah. Over what he's doing, I think.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and this is like I don't know if anyone like really love him that much, but I'm a huge fan of Aaron Matz.
Oh, well,
from X Betraying the Martyrs.
Yeah, no, dude. People really enjoyed his addition to that band and what he brought to the project. I think maybe musically it was something a little different, and maybe people didn't latch on as much, but even then they did really well once Aaron joined the band, and his vocals are undeniably super brutal, right? And
again, it's one of the vocalists from who I try to emulate the sound. So I was listening to a lot of their second album, Breathe in Life, which is the first album which she's on. And it's so good, man. Like the song "Man-Made Disaster" was probably
really good.
like one of the songs I listened to the most ever, I think. So yeah. And what about you, big boy?
I'll power through it a bit. But you know, if we're talking, I guess, influences, definitely some of the older vocalists that were there when I started doing vocals were, you know, Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder.
Dude, yes.
I mean, and honestly, like I don't think the guy has like the craziest vocal, but there's just something about the vibe and what he brought to that scene that I always really appreciated, especially with deathcore being so flamboyant and all that. Not putting Black Dahlia Murder necessarily in the deathcore subgenre, but that's what they were associated with a lot. And what I listened to, I found that he didn't have to go for super high shrieking vocals. He didn't have to go the lowest of lows, but he knew how to make a good catchy death metal song. And I really always,
and he's super consistent too. Like
exactly,
he's been consistent for 20 years.
And he got consistently better with each release as well. And so yeah, I always really enjoyed him. Johnny Davey from Job for a Cowboy is one of those vocalists that pioneered a genre. Okay, but he stuck with his style of vocal, and to this day, not many vocalists do. Like, nobody sounds like him.
No,
like nobody.
It's 100% true.
Yeah. So I've always really enjoyed the fact that this guy, like, he made his own thing, and it's something that basically nobody was able to emulate afterwards, and he's still doing it. And I cannot wait for a new Job for a Cowboy album. And
Is
Adam
it coming?
Warren.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's coming apparently. But Adam Warren would be the other guy that I mean, when growing up, like, it just the sheer brutality in his vocals, right?
So heavy. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
And that's another guy that I feel nobody really touches. Like, his vocals sound different than everyone else, and still do.
Yeah, people take him for granted.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and everyone goes back to, Depths was their best album and all that, but they have some more recent albums. Ascendance is one of my favorite deathcore albums ever, and his vocals are absolutely nuts on that album. So he's been getting better as well, and still sounds completely different compared to everyone else doing it.
Absolutely, man.
So
100%.
Yeah, so those are more like influences, and then more recently, Darius from Spite, I think, really has one of those vocals.
One of the best live vocalists ever, too. He's so good.
Yeah, just for the energy, for the power. Again, I think it's a charisma thing, and how he's super confident in his vocals, and I feel, it's again one of those vocalists that when you hear him, you know it's him.
For sure,
and just has the most insane range out of all these vocalists doing it. Kyle Anderson, Brand of Sacrifice, I mean, just absolutely insane as well. And then really enjoyed Dickie Allen for everything he's done with Infant Annihilator. And
for sure, man.
Yeah, he's
been a pioneer for some sounds that we hear today, right?
Yeah. He said, definitely, like, everyone's on that stuff right now, like the slammy zombie vocals, the super low gutturals, like all those things are like tropes right now, like trends. And he was doing it like way back. Like he definitely was one of the first to really popularize it, and now everyone's doing it, or trying to at least.
And you said Will Ramos too?
Yeah, I mean, I've always really enjoyed his vocals. Now he's like getting a lot of recognition because he's in Lorna Shore, but his old band Awakened Providence, dude, like his vocal performances on the material he's done with them is just absolutely insane. And when they announced that he was doing a tour with them, and then eventually that he was being a part of Lorna Shore, I was super stoked, because definitely one of those vocalists that he's able to do all those like crazy sounds. But I think he really does it tastefully and doesn't
it stays in the bounds of everything that works. It's not too much.
Yeah, and he knows how to do like a good vocal pattern, make songs flow, which is something that maybe a lot of people overlook. Yeah, you can have like a crazy vocal, but if you can't properly write a song, it's not gonna sound good. It's gonna be lame.
Yeah,
so
it's not gonna work.
Yeah, and I think he's got that on lock.
Crazy, man. Got some heavy hitters.
So I just wanted to reminisce a bit, because I'm not even sure we touched on this in the last podcast. I think we actually forgot to mention it, but I remember one of the first times that I saw / met you was at a show you were playing with your old band, and you were actually a bassist.
Yep, I was playing bass back in the days.
Yeah, did we talk about this on the last podcast?
I don't remember talking about it.
I don't think we did. So I just wanted to bring this up real quick, because all I remember is sitting at the merch table while you guys were playing. And this was the first time that I was seeing your band playing. It was Faithful Synthesis. You guys really didn't choose an easy
I'm sorry, man.
Easy band name for Frenchies to say. But And you were playing bass, but you also did backup vocals. And I remember turning to Mart, my guitarist at the time, and saying, yo, why is this dude not the vocalist? And I'm not going to throw shade anywhere else, but just your vocals stood out so much, like, because you were doing a lot of lows and gutturals, and they were just coming out like so strong and so good that I was like, why is this guy playing bass? Like, this guy should clearly be fronting the band. And I just thought I'd bring that up real quick, because that's always something I'm going to remember when thinking about you and how we met.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, back in the days, I think what's crazy is that I started to play bass like at all from scratch to play in this band. Because I was friends with Felix from school, and we were like, oh, maybe we should start a band, like playing metal. That'd be sick, you know, like teenagers do.
Yeah.
And then we had some like friends that were already better at vocals than me. Like, we had a friend called Alexi who we pushed a lot for him to be the vocalist, because he had like we were doing like metal vocals for fun, like to chill around and just to
piss off the neighbors.
Yeah, just pour niaiser, you know? I don't know how to say it in English.
How'd you say it?
But just pour niaiser.
Oh yeah, just to fuck around, yeah.
Yeah, just fool around, and he was pretty good. Sounded pretty nice. So we're like, hey, dude, you want to be the vocalist? And he didn't want it to. So yeah, I mean, we tried some people. We had some previous vocalists before that were I mean, pretty good, but you know, I wanted into the details, but finally it didn't work out. And then we didn't have a bass player, so I just said to my father, like, hey, maybe I could do some bass lessons, and I buy the bass and started to play bass. Yeah, and then I started to like practice vocals too, because I can scream, like do some fries, and then the more I was doing it, the more I was feeling confident. But I think at the time I wasn't confident enough to be a frontman. I mean, I had maybe the vocal skills to do it, but in my mind I wasn't ready to be the frontman of a band. So
definitely a big gap between performing and being on stage as a bassist versus being the front man, right? Like, it's a different vibe for sure.
Exactly. It's a different game entirely, because
it's a different presence.
I mean, bassists. Yeah, I can do like, I just can headbang, play my thing, do some backup vocals.
You can be in the back and no one's gonna care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm mostly like, in my life, I'm not the guy who's gonna, like, you know, take the when I arrive into a room, I don't try to be like the person with all the attention, you know. I just like to go with the flow. I mean, as many vocalists do, I think.
That might be a bit of a tangent, but I feel the same way personally.
Yeah.
And somehow we're both people that front bands, right? So I think there might be something to be said about people maybe being a little bit more introverted, or maybe just not leaders per se when it comes to group settings, but being up on stage is it's a different thing, right? I'm not gonna come up here and say that I was a very commanding or like natural frontman. It definitely took a lot of work for me to get to a place where I felt comfortable and well on stage. But for whatever reason, being a vocalist was the thing I gravitated towards, right? Like fully knowing that I'd have to be in front of a crowd, right?
Yep, and that's strange for people like you and me to have this, not this need, but this urge to like go on stage and scream like crazy. Just, you know, it's not in our personalities, I think. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I started to be better at vocals, and then our vocalist, we had some trouble with him, because we didn't like, he changed his technique at one point, I think, and he never like captured the essence of what he was capable to do before. And it just like fell out, and we had to make a move.
Yeah, you guys just split. Yeah,
and I was like, okay, now I can be ready to be a vocalist. So
it's probably easier to find a new bassist than to find a new vocalist too, right?
Exactly what we thought at the time. So yeah, and in the end we found Sammy, and I were doing like our own stuff on the side now too. So that's perfect.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything worked out.
Yeah, that's true. Did you know Sammy before the band?
I mean, our drummer knew him. Felix saw him play once at a show.
Okay, but you weren't like longtime friends with him or anything. This was someone that became your friend afterwards.
Yep, exactly. So
crazy, yeah, because you guys are doing everything together now.
Yeah, exactly. He's one of my best friends now, so that's crazy. Yeah.
All thanks to you manning up and becoming the vocalist.
Yeah, I mean, and went on a small tour after with you guys, and I think that's the moment I started to be like, I found my pace and my rhythm as a vocalist.
Well, right, because like before actually setting foot on stage and doing, just putting in the work and doing more shows, right? It's kind of hard to visualize it, and it's a different vibe just jamming. Knowing you can do the vocals is one thing, jamming and stuff, but being in front of a crowd is another thing. And then on top of that, being in front of a small and or reluctant crowd, that's a whole other thing. And if you can do that, you're pretty set.
Yeah, it's never fun, but I mean,
I always have fun regardless, but it's way easier to command a crowd that's bigger than a small crowd that's kind of not really wanting to be there.
Wants to listen to your band. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. And it's easier to command a crowd that wants to be there too.
Yeah.
Like if it's like people from bands or families of other bands or stuff that just don't want to listen to your band, like.
Right, people that are there to maybe just to support, but don't really. Those aren't the real fans, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had I had a bit of a, I guess, normal way of getting into doing vocals, but I guess
I don't know the story at all, actually.
Well, so I played guitar. That was my thing.
Really?
Yeah.
You played guitar, so you play guitar. You know how to play guitar.
I mean, I haven't touched a guitar in fucking forever, and all I have right now is an acoustic guitar. But when I was a teenager, I dabbled.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I quickly turned into a vocalist. Let's put it that way. So I played guitar, and the friend group that I was with at one point, there was this guy that he was a front man in a band, and he kind of just like taught me how to inhale my like low screams. And
you were doing inhales before. That's true.
Right. And I did inhales for a long time because that's what I learned. Right. So I would exhale my highs and inhale my lows, for better or for worse, mostly for worse. And I mean, I made it work, but it's definitely, I have a hard time listening to it now. Let's put it that way.
I think you have the one of the better sounding inhales ever.
Yeah, I can't do them anymore, like at all.
Really?
It's impossible. I choke up right away. Like,
wow.
Every time someone came up to me and was like, "How do you do inhales, man?" Like, I choke up right away. Like, I just can't do it. It's always because these were people that did like normal vocals, like exhaled.
Yeah.
And I was always like, well, I don't know, man. That's just like how I know how to do it. And now that I do everything exhale, I try to inhale and I can't do it. I just like I wouldn't be able to reproduce the vocals that I did for years, which is so weird to me. Like I can't do it. It just doesn't work. But yeah, so I started like just fooling around a bit with vocals. When I was playing guitar, whenever I was alone at the house, I'd put on like an Alexis on Fire CD or an Under Oath CD, and most of the time I'd be playing like the power chords, like playing guitar and screaming at the same time. I would rarely.
Really?
I was never just doing vocals. It was always like,
really?
I'm playing guitar because this is what I really want to do. But then I'll scream over it because, like, why not? Because it was like a release. It was just like something, I was just fucking around with it.
So you can write songs?
No, but I mean, what do you mean though?
Like you said earlier before we started recording that you trying to maybe do like a solo project or something, so you could like pick up the guitar and write some music.
Nah, I mean, I'm not skilled enough.
I mean, that's what I said to me before I bought my Ibanez, and now look where I am.
No, I sucked at guitar, so there was absolutely no redeeming qualities to the material that I was writing, and I only played guitar for like a few jams. And I think we had no vocalist at first. We were just kind of writing songs because we were just like a new band, just a couple of people trying to make stuff. And then eventually we did get a vocalist, but it just like right away didn't work. And for whatever reason, at a certain point, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do vocals. But like, I didn't really have a microphone or like a speaker to go through or whatever. But I had seen the previous vocal guy like just scream into a shitty mic into like a guitar amp. So I was like, well, I've got a guitar amp. Fuck it. So I got a microphone and I started doing vocals for that band. And I've been doing vocals ever since. I basically stopped playing guitar then.
Wow.
And
man, that's quite the story, man. Didn't know about that.
That's
crazy.
So it was just, I don't know. Once I started doing vocals, it just kind of became my thing. Like I think I very quickly came to the conclusion that I enjoyed doing vocals more than playing guitar. I think it really came down to the fact that I probably felt like a better vocalist than I did a guitarist when it came to composing stuff. But get this, that first band that I did, and I even wrote some really wacky, like my friend would do like electronic semi-techno beats and I would scream over it. I did like 2 albums of this. I'll show you afterwards.
2 albums?
Yeah. And yeah.
2 albums, like 20 songs.
Not 20 songs, but a lot of songs, yeah. And
Jesus Christ.
It's terrible.
Wow.
It's really fucking cringe, but
dude.
I think like I don't know where I was going with this, but I just became in love with doing vocals. Oh right, where I was getting with this is that those 2 albums and everything I did with the quote unquote real like metal band that I was a part of, which was more like it was deathcore, like a deathcore band ish. No lyrics,
just screaming, like gibberish.
Yeah. Like
yeah, but I mean,
like half sentences, like, you know, and I'd have certain like kind of vocal patterns or like the same gibberish that would kind of like I would play the song twice and it would mostly sound the same, but there weren't actual lyrics.
Yeah.
I did this for a long time, and that was just me being like I was just lazy. Like I just.
How old were you?
17. 18.
I mean, every dude that started to do vocals at 16, 17, 18, we don't have the maturity to write some good lyrics. I mean, just like
dude, there's a ton of bands out there that are like fucking musically like they're virtuosos like at age 16.
Yeah, like, all right. Like who? Polyphia?
Sure. I mean, but it's true. Like, I mean,
they don't have lyrics.
Yeah, maybe that's why, right? But you get what I mean. There are a lot of young bands that are 18, 19, 20 years old and make like...
They have ghostwriters like Crown the Empire.
No, come on. You know what I'm trying to say. Like there are young dudes that just they're mature enough to write their own lyrics and make it work. Like that actually have like good production and do things right. Like I think I just wasn't there in my process. And but it's just funny to look back on, right? Because there's because now I listen to these songs and I'm like, these songs maybe could have been listenable, but there's no way I'm listening to those songs now with no real lyrics. Like it's fucking ridiculous.
And next thing you know, I See Stars made a whole career like this. You know, like techno breakdowns with the scream vocals and clean vocals.
No guitar. Just
there was just no guitar at all. Okay. Yeah,
no. It was
Ghostmain kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure. If Ghostmain was terrible,
are you Ghostmain?
No.
Maybe you are, and you want to talk about it.
Nah, but
I can already see the headlines in the edit. Like, are you Ghostmain? The clips.
But yeah, that's how I got into vocals. And then when I came to Montreal, I was 18, I guess, at that point, and I had a bit more, I guess, experience and maturity in me, and started doing vocals for like a very metalcore band, and my vocal style absolutely did not fit what they were doing, so that didn't last too long. And then another kind of metalcore band as well, and eventually I stumbled upon Depths of Hatred, which were looking for a vocalist. They were starting the project. They didn't have a vocalist, and I joined the band, and that's really like, that was finally like a band that was exactly the style of music that I actually listened to, because I did listen to metalcore and stuff, but like deathcore was my thing. Like that's what I really fucked with. So once I got into that band, it just became easy, because I was like, oh, like writing lyrics for that, it became easy because that's the type of music that I consume. Yeah. Like I had something to look up to. Yeah. I could look up lyrics. I could be influenced by things that actually mattered within that realm. So I think that's definitely where I kind of shaped my sound and became better at what I was doing. And because everything in the band was so polished, because of the other members and how everything was done, I felt the need for myself to step up and just be better, right? Like the lyrics had to be good. And like I had to step up my vocal game. Yeah. Like it was just when we did the first album with Depths of Hatred, it was Inhale Lows. And when we switched to the second album, I told myself flat out, if I can't do Exhale Everything on this album, I'm not doing the album.
Ooh, Jesus Christ.
That was and that wasn't the band. Like the band didn't give a shit. I could have done Inhales for the rest of my life, and I'm pretty sure the guys would have never said anything. But that was a personal thing. I was because I listened to the tracks and I was like, you know what? I don't feel like these vocals are up to par with the quality of music that these guys are putting out. So I need to figure this out. Literally the first
crazy, man.
The first Exhale vocals, the Exhale Lows that I did, like in a proper format, were in the recording sessions. Like,
which song was it? The first
Secluded Redemption.
Oh yeah,
because we put it out as a single. We put it out as a single first, so we recorded that one like standalone beforehand. And when I showed up to the studio, like I had been telling the guys, I was like, "Hey, I want to do exhales. I don't want to do inhales. I don't want to do this and I had a breakdown like around that time. I was like, I told the guys, I was like, if it's going to be inhales, I don't want to do it. And up until that recording, like the actual recording session, I hadn't jammed any exhales with them. I hadn't done anything.
That's crazy.
But I had been practicing. I had been practicing on my own, and I was like, okay, it's time. And then I told the guys right before we did press record, I was like, hey, I'm gonna try this. Like, if it works, cool. If it doesn't, we'll figure something out. But like, I want to do this, so just press record and we'll see how it goes. And they came out how they did, and I was genuinely like way more satisfied with that, even if they were like my first times actually performing, than doing the inhales. So I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Dude. And like they sounded fine. Like they sounded okay. So I was just like, okay, let's go all in. I'm doing this whole song like this, and we did it, and I never looked back from there. It was a hard transition afterwards to do
doing live, yeah.
Well, to do all the songs that I did in inhales, to transfer those to exhale. Dude. At first I was like, maybe I'll still do those in inhales and then do the new songs in exhale. But I quickly realized I was like, nah, I have to just like nail everything exhale. Like that has to be the way.
That's a crazy story, man.
Yeah.
Like you went from 0 to 100 real quick.
I had to, but I mean real quick. It was between two albums, so
but that's quick, like changing your whole technique just like
Well, I say
I mean, not for the fun of it, but just because you wanted it. That's crazy.
Well, almost 2 years, right? Like,
Man.
so it's a long time. It was a lot of trial and error of me walking alone on the fucking bridge between my bus stop and the jam spot. There's a lot of that.
Oh my god, man! In L'Île Perrot, next to was
Dairy
it there
Queen.
at the time?
The
Next to Smoke Meat Pete.
Smoke Meat Pete.
Dude, that's crazy, man.
But yeah, that's. I guess I didn't even think that we were gonna go into all that, but as I was telling the story, I was like, oh right, that's how it happened. So
yeah, I mean, I'm happy you told me about it because now I have just like more admiration for you in that regard.
Nah.
That's no, I mean that's
this
crazy.
Isn't Gas Me Up podcast. What is this?
No. But I mean, for real.
I get it.
I mean, not everyone can do this. Like, and what's funny? I mean, it's not funny, but it's cool. But like, even if you had like the NLOs or the XLOs, what you've been known for the most is your soaring highs. So
yeah,
that's. I mean.
Yeah,
there's a bit of irony there.
I always think the lows were definitely not the thing that people focused on so much, but
and you always had those highs. So
I mean, it was easy.
Crazy.
It was easy for people to latch onto the highs more than the lows when I was doing inhales because they were just objectively better. The exhaled highs, so it wasn't too far of a stretch, but. And then, I mean, I'm never going to say that my lows, like my exhaled lows, became anything like amazing. Like I was just able to do them, and that's still how it is. I'm not like I can't do like super anything crazy with my lows. So definitely the highs have always been the thing. Like since me doing vocals in the very, very beginning up until now. Sure, my highs have gotten better with time, but that's been like that the main constant in my quote unquote career, or however you want to call it. Like that my highs have always been like that thing that I knew I could go back to that always sounded good. Dude, regardless.
It became the sound of Depths of Hatred. I mean, like people were listening to you guys for the music, the blast beats, everything, but like there was a big part of that audience, I think, that were like really liking the way you were doing the vocals, like the highs especially, I think.
Yeah,
like,
I had a lot of people talk to me like at shows and online about the vocal aspect of the band, which I mean, cool. I don't know. It's not something that I ever wanted to get to my head or anything. So I never kind of thought of it in that sense. But yeah, I guess the vocals were a part of were a piece in the puzzle in what made what makes Depths of Hatred so great. Right?
Of the band. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's really nice.
While we're on, kind of like. I guess talking about all this, I have here, I guess, like our strengths and weaknesses. And then the next point that I have is kind of studio versus live setting. Dude. So it all, I think, can tie together because we were talking about this the other day, especially with like COVID and stuff. Like I don't have a band anymore, so it's different for me, but you haven't been jamming with your bandmates for a while. And we were talking about kind of trying out new things and how maybe in studio recordings vocals don't necessarily sound the same as in a live setting. And we got into talking about how even just what your environment is can affect how you're doing your vocals, right? So for me, like being in the studio, I always have more of a hard time doing my vocals for whatever reason than in a live setting. Even like jamming will be easier for me than doing a live recording. I think it comes down to like I have to have the music has to be super loud regardless. So whether it's in my headphones
to me that you
or
didn't
want
want to hear yourself.
The what?
you said to me like the other day that whenever you're playing shows or jamming or even in the studio, you don't like to hear yourself.
It's not that I don't like to hear myself, but it's definitely easier for me. Like if I have to choose, it's easier for me to do vocals if I don't hear myself than if I hear myself too much. I've gotten used to every single scenario possible now.
Yeah.
Because I've played so many shows where every single time it's way different, but definitely not hearing myself is easier because I just feel it in my throat and I don't. And I just push, and I feel like if I hear myself too much, I feel like there's a tendency for me to try to hold back because I'm like, oh, it doesn't sound right, like quote unquote in the mix. Like it's like, oh, I have to tone my vocals down because they're too loud. When in reality, they're not too loud. It's just I'm hearing them too loud. So that'll fundamentally change the way my vocals are coming out, right? So how are you in like recording sessions, let's say, versus a live setting?
For me, the biggest issue, it's just two different worlds. Like in jams, I can do things that I cannot do in studio, and vice versa. Like when I play music,
there's stuff you can do in studio that you can't do live.
No. I think there's things I can do in jam that I can't do in studio.
Right. So
like,
that's how I feel too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I mean, when I'm playing shows. The guttural lows is like the place where I dwell the most, where it's the easiest for me. But when I end up in the studio, I cannot do those lows.
Do you think it's a confidence / adrenaline thing?
Maybe, because and for me, like you were talking about hearing yourself, for me it's the complete opposite. If I don't hear myself, I'll be able to perform, but I need to hear myself. Like if I don't hear myself, I'll push too hard and I just won't be able to do the show until the end. Because when I do fries, I need to like hear the sound and the raspiness so I can like gauge the level of energy I put into each scream.
I think because I'll be completely honest. I like vocal techniques, like even just like the names of everything, like you're mentioning like fries and stuff like that. Like it's never something that's interested me, I guess. So I do my vocals how I do them. Like how I know they come out right. That's just how I do it. But I feel like maybe we don't do vocals in the same style, like not the same technique, but I wouldn't even be able to tell you like
what you're doing.
Yeah, what I'm doing, like how I push my lows versus how you push your lows, let's say. Like, do we have different techniques? I know they sound different, but I can't tell you if we're pushing the same way or not, just because I'm a complete noob at all these things. No, but I feel like it's a big thing. Like online, there's like like vocalists are like super proud of like certain techniques and stuff like that, and like I'm all for like exploring and stuff, but I've just never put words to them. Right? Like I can't tell you what I'm doing. I can't tell you what type of vocal I have. Like straight up, I can't.
But I mean, it's okay because ultimately, as long as it sounds great and you don't hurt yourself, I mean. Well,
I just don't. Whatever. That's what it comes down to. But I don't want to. I don't know. I've just never overthought it, I guess. And it wouldn't even be overthinking it. That would just be. I just don't think about it.
I mean, the only thing I know for sure that is what it is my fry vocals because like everyone's, the classic, like Bring Me the Horizon, like screech,
right.
Shriek, actually, not screech. But I know for a fact that this is fry vocals.
Yeah.
But after that, my highs is just highs and my lows are just lows. It's just the way I place my tongue in my mouth that changes the way it sounds, basically.
Right.
Because when I play shows, I'm able to go in that place like the. But when I'm in a studio, it's always.
It just comes out
more
different.
It's just like more death metal sound. And when I play shows, that is more like juicy deathcore. but I'm not able to do it. I think there's one time on one recording that I have been able to do it. It's when I did a vocal cover of Wormholes by Volumes with my boy Rafael Osorio from Our Souls Evolve. That it's the only time I remember I was feeling like top notch, on my mark, like the same thing I was in show and live.
Was that recording like environment any different than when you're in the studio?
I mean, it was at Sergio's place, like in his room with a computer and a mic, like super basic. Nothing.
I mean, maybe that's a difference, right? Like, because like I said, I've done, I guess, a lot of studio time at this point, and I know what works for me now, right? Whereas when I started, when I was doing especially like those first Depths of Hatred records, I was kind of exploring what worked, like how the levels had to be in my headphones and what I was doing. And definitely I struggled more at first just because the settings weren't set to what I knew, like what was optimal for me, right? Like it just wasn't the right environment. Whereas now I know a bit better like what to do to put myself in the best possible position, but it's still not the same as being live. Yeah,
it's the same thing for me, because I mean, when I recorded Absolution or EP, whatever band, it was at Frank Bertrand's place, like in Laval, his studio, which is super great. So it was like the experience was amazing. He was super kind. It was super easy to work with, but it's one of those places where I couldn't do everything I wanted vocally. Like the highs, I mean, the easiest thing for me to do in live is high vocals. Yeah. Like I just like, I get there super easily. Like the place in my throat and like in my head where I can do them is super attainable. Yeah. But when I'm in a studio, I just like scream the loudest I can, and there's compression, so it sounds a bit like, you know, and it's not even the same technique at all. Right. So that's something that's something I don't like about the way I do vocals. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's just the setting. Maybe the day I recorded that vocal cover with Sergio, I was something super there laid
that
back.
Was just that clicked, right? I think I'd put some money on that. Next time you record some stuff, I'd urge you to just try different things. Like if it doesn't come out right, just be like, okay, wait, we got to figure this out, right? Because once you know, right? So if it's the beginning of a recording for a full album, it might as well just take the time at the beginning to get it right, and then just know that you'll be top notch for the rest of the recording, right? But it is,
for sure.
I mean, regardless, I mean, it's going to be different, and that's something I guess you get used to with time and kind of knowing what the optimal setting for you is, and then it's just trying to push through it. I definitely think there's something to be said though with adrenaline and confidence being 100%. Completely different on a stage where people are there to see you and you've got like a full band to back you up and stuff, versus playing to a track in headphones with people kind of just staring at you, hoping just waiting for you to get that right take. Right? It's a different, there's a different, it's a different pressure. It's like a completely different vibe, which I think probably plays a part.
And what I would like to try for the next time I record vocals is to do it like alone by myself.
Right. That was my thing with doing these covers and stuff. I was like, I need a space where I can be alone. I don't want to be with anyone else in the room, and I just need to figure it out by myself. No judgment. Just know that like if I fuck up, it's whatever. I'm the only one here. I can delete the take. It's chill.
Yep. And just also to try to just be able to engineer some vocals, which I'd never ever tried to do. I mean I do pre-prod for guitars and drums and bass, but I'm a vocalist and I never tried to record or even like make vocals sound good by myself. So it's something I want to try to do too. So
I loosely know how to EQ like this kind of podcast thing, or just like
Yeah.
audio for like the voice audio for like a video like that I'm putting up on YouTube or something. But vocals, for whatever reason, I've just never done it, because I've never recorded myself doing vocals really. So I've never fucked around with like putting like the right compression and like just like a proper EQ for death metal vocals. I've just never done it. So it's which is kind of weird to say out loud, I guess, because like having done it for so long. And
I mean, we're not engineers, like we're not studio engineers by any means, so it makes sense that we didn't like mingle with that too much. But
yeah,
that'd be fun to do for sure.
Yep.
Maybe we should record some vocal covers and try to make them sound great.
I mean, that's what we
as
said
you
we would
did,
do, so
yeah.
We're gonna have to dabble in that.
Sure.
Let's shift a bit to lyrics in metal.
I have a lot to say about that.
Go ahead. Do they matter? Do they not matter? What's your take?
This
what,
for
like
me, it's
you
more...
listen to a death metal album and the lyrics are, let's just say, terrible for whatever reason, because the person is foreign and it's just not well written. Maybe it's because it's just topics that you don't care about. Maybe it's misogynistic. Maybe it's any number of these things. What's your take on lyrics in metal?
I hate bands that don't care about their vocals. Like, I mean, not their vocals, but their lyrics. I just can't. Like, I won't. I mean, to be fair, I don't like Cannibal Corpse that much, like musically, but I even hate it more because there's, I mean, in quotation marks, shitty lyrics. Because I mean, some people like it, but I can't do it. I need people that know what they're doing when they like write metal vocals. Like, this is why I love Depths of Hatred, because the lyrics are amazing. They're great. They're like super, like, you know, how do you say it in English? I mean, the lyrics are lyrical, but this is not what I want to say.
Sure.
They're super, like, they're thought out, and it feels like a story, and feels like it could be like a novel or something. And it rhymes, and it's good, and it works. Like, the intonations with the syllables are great. This is super important. For me, if the lyrics are bad, in my opinion, bad, like what I think bad lyrics are, I just won't listen to the band at all.
But that's hard though, because there are so many bands out there that that have amazing music, but the lyrics, I'm like, but let me say this: the more that I can't understand the lyrics, the less I care about the lyrics, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Right? Like, if I can listen to a band not knowing what they're saying, they can basically say whatever they want.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm saying this as someone that is a vocalist and is super into like death metal vocals, like in general, and have been around them forever. So not understanding them has to be pretty extreme, right? But the more I can discern the lyrics, the more they have to make sense, because if I'm listening to a song and I can make out what the guy's saying and I like don't vibe with it, I'll just be like, oh fuck. Like, yeah,
exactly.
It takes you out of the experience, right?
Yeah, 100% was I was going to say.
I can't deal with anything that's like comedy. That's a whole thing. But and I say this a lot, but I can't deal with comedy and or like I can't deal with Attila, not because of the music, not because of the dude's personality, not because any of that. Just because if I listen to a song, I just can't vibe with the lyrics. They're just not. It's just not my thing. And they could all of a sudden write like super insane songs that sound great instrumentally, but if they're going to talk about fucking bitches and drinking till they pass out, I don't care. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I think the more personal your lyrics gets, the more it's gonna relate to many people. Like everyone's gonna relate to the song in their own ways. Because if you try to do like some like universal truths, like fuck governments, environment is we need to help it. Like everyone's heard that like 100 times today.
Yeah, but think about hardcore. That's all their lyrics are, and that's, I guess, what like unites all these people, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It's different for different styles, I think, and people have different opinions on I guess if what makes lyrics cool or not. But I think we're on the same page that like more personal is usually more accessible, I guess, or relatable.
Yeah.
I guess is the word to use. Yeah. But I really enjoy fictional stuff too, though. That's definitely where I've taken my lyrics.
Yeah, stories and stuff. Yeah, that's great too, for sure. And it's just when I listen to a band that I love, that the music is great, and I can like hear the lyrics and they're good. I just want them to like this is maybe, I don't know, this is maybe a hot take, but when I write lyrics myself, I try to have like a standard. Like I want them to sound good, to be well-rounded, to maybe not have like too much like errors, like of comment tu dis grammaire en anglais? Grammar?
Grammatical errors?
Yeah, grammatical errors, but I have a standard from which I try to write lyrics, and when I hear a band that like it, you
that
can
don't
hear
meet those
that
standards,
they didn't care.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I guess that's maybe a little different for us because we also do write lyrics, right? And we do
exactly
record vocals and stuff. So I guess there is it's easier for us to have a standard set because we do it with ourselves, with our own material, I guess. I guess that makes sense. I never looked at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're a bass player or a drummer, and when I listen to an album, the vocals is the first thing I'm like focusing on, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's different for every musician. Like probably the people that plays guitar will focus mostly on the guitar parts.
Right. That makes sense too. Yeah.
That's because we're vocalists, maybe, that we have, like
just
you
like
said,
a different relationship with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, pertaining to standards, let's talk about this real quick because we live in Montreal. We live in Quebec. Montreal is not as bad, I think, because there's a lot of like Montreal metal bands. There's like a shit ton of them that exist. But Montreal is kind of like a weird ecosystem where a lot of people also do speak English, but in Quebec, most people speak French and not so much English. And two things: death metal lyrics in French, for whatever reason, I just can't stand. I can't do it. I think there's something about the language itself. It's like more, everything sounds more poetic, more like fluff and dandelions and clouds. Right. Like I just feel like lyrics in French sound, regardless of what you're writing about, it just sounds happier or like more campy.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for me to listen to death metal with French lyrics and have, it just never sounds brutal to me. Just never.
I think the guitarist vocalist of Jesus Christ, Gorguts, Luc Lemay says basically the same thing. He just doesn't like death metal that with French vocals for the same reasons you stated. But for me, I think if they're good and they sound great, but I mean, you said you didn't like the way it sounds. So. But yeah, for me, as long as it sounds great.
You talked earlier about like intonation and stuff like that, and you get different intonations and different sounds just from speaking another language, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's the same reason that like I'll use Slaughter to Prevail as an example. When he does songs in Russian, it sounds brutal as fuck. Like no one's saying that it sounds
absolutely
like unicorns, and it sounds super brutal, but I think there's that intonation in the language, and I don't understand the Russian lyrics. I don't, but it just sounds brutal, right?
I believe it would opposite. Be like this. Sorry, what you said?
I think French is the opposite of what Russian sounds in terms of brittleness.
I understand where it comes from, because it's literally the way the words are pronounced. Because when you listen to Russian, it's a very guttural language. Like it's literally the word to use in this instance, guttural. And it's the same thing for like Arabic languages.
Yeah,
sounds super guttural too. So I think in a context of metal and heaviness and scream, it would be amazing to hear some like Arab metal. Arab metal.
Arabic,
but French, there's this, Arabic metal. Yeah, there's this. There's a refinement of the way the words are pronounced, and I think when I like make lows and scream lows, the way my tongue is placed is the same way to pronounce a R in English.
Right.
Like with the tongue in the back of the mouth, like touching the back teeth, like R, like you do. And R is the same way to place the tongue for me, so it just goes with it.
It's just, it's more natural. Yeah,
it's a labial thing.
Yeah, and then I'll touch on this real quick. People that write lyrics in English but don't really know how to speak English well, I think people have to check themselves on whether or not they're able to write lyrics in English properly or not, and have people correct their text. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand bands that are able to put out these
music with errors.
Yeah, or just bad lyrics, right? Like, I can understand that it's not your first language and that you have a hard time writing in English and you don't want to write in French for all the reasons that we just talked about. But I mean, you're not alone in the world, right? Like,
exactly.
There are other people around you, most likely that can give you a hand, or at least give you pointers on grammatical errors or how sentences are said and stuff, because that's come up quite a few times with bands in Quebec that I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but damn, those lyrics, like, just takes me out of it. It's just, it just doesn't, those aren't sentences. I can't deal with this. Like,
those aren't sentences. Yeah, I say myself, when I listen to some like more underground bands, I don't want to say 50% of the time, but no names. But there's a lot of bands here in Quebec that, I mean, to be fair, it's not even their fault. Like, they do what they have to do and they do their best, but
no. Everyone can ask for help. It's the same reason that like bands will go and record albums with a producer, because they value someone external, like they value someone else's opinion, and they go and tune up their riffs. It's the same thing, right? There's nothing wrong
with asking for help.
Yeah, they're asking for help musically, and you can do the same thing with vocals. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day where I forget who it was, but they were talking about recording a Gorod, I think. I always mix up Gorod and another band, but
Fritz Fragment?
No, Gorod are from France, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
And they were talking about the recording process and how the producer would go over the lyrics with the vocalist and be like, okay, let's change this and that. And like, he was the one who was ultimately calling the shots and doing the lyrics and all that. But at least there was a producer that was there, someone that was there to tell him like, that people wouldn't really say that way in English, or this doesn't really make sense, or maybe this is kind of grammatically incorrect. And then he'd go and change it, which is super important, right? And I think bands at a smaller level, they feel like because they don't have a producer that sort of help, they can't get it. But I mean, everyone's got friends that are better than them at English. Like, you can reach out.
Yeah, for sure. and if you have like band friends that are, I mean, I think the way that I would do it if I were those bands is try to find someone you like. Like, I mean, back in the days, I probably have like written to you like, "Hey man, I know you don't know me at all, but I'm trying to review my lyrics. Can you like check it out or something?" This can be done too. Like
whether it's paid for or not, right? Like there's
exactly.
There's always a way. I think personally there is no excuse for a band to put out like material that hasn't been like proofed or like double checked.
Yep.
Whether it be by the rest of the band members, whether it be by someone external, but check yourself. Just do it.
Yep, for sure. Exactly. Just do it, man.
All right, let's do favorite vocal lines.
Ooh.
And I guess pre-breakdown call-outs. I think that's all kind of in the same realm. So I think you thought of this one, so I think you had some ideas, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because I'm kind of at a loss. Like I said, I mean, just stated that I don't go raving on about lyrics as much, but I think you do. So what are some of your favorite vocal lines or breakdown callouts?
It's a song about a ghost inside. I don't remember what is it, but there's this whole like pre-breakdown stuff, with the toms and drums that it's getting really hyped up. And the last thing he says is life swinging hard, and I'm swinging harder, something like this.
Okay.
And like it's the heaviest, thickest breakdown just after that. And I think it's the first song they released after the big accident.
Okay.
So like life swinging hard, but I'm swinging harder, and like the super heavy breakdown. That's so good, so good, and it works so well when you know the story. Yeah, it's crazy.
Right, right. Yeah, with context too, I guess. Right.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's so powerful when you think about it,
I think a lot of some of these vocal lines probably wouldn't deliver as well if it wasn't for the rest of the instruments, right? Because you can have like a cool call out or something, but if it's not well placed or whatever, it's just kind of like And in the same sense, I think just the right timing instrumentally for certain vocal callouts. Maybe the lyrical content isn't necessarily great, but just like how it delivers because of the context of the song sometimes just makes something like, whoa, like that's not a cool word or a cool sentence, but like that was sick.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it works in the context of the song, this is the most important thing, because if you have a vocal call out that just doesn't fit at all with the song, it doesn't matter. It won't sound good. And I have another one. It's from a Counterpart song, the song Tragedy. Just before, it's not like a breakdown per se with chugs and kicks that follow the chug, but it's like a change of pace in the song. And he says make my skin your sanctuary. And I think it's a really beautiful sentence and a really beautiful line. And this is like the most like emotional song on that record, on the album Tragedy Will Find Us.
Okay.
And it's like super like dark and fragile poetry, the lyrics of the song, and this is like the pinnacle of the emotions in the song, and that's
right. And it's kind of like the climax of what all of that is getting to.
It's so good, insane.
I'm looking through my Spotify right now, just like looking at artist names, and I can't find.
Just trying to find something.
Find anything. Spite has some amazing.
Oh yeah.
Some amazing like pre-breakdown callouts, or just like, yeah.
Dude, I know one that we both like.
What?
Defiler, man.
Yeah, but it's like ironically liking it. But yes, I guess I have mentioned I Want to See You Cry, Bitch, probably more than any other death metal lyric ever.
But the way he's pronouncing it, it sounds I want to see you crying, bitch.
I know, it's amazing.
And it's so funny, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. I love this song. I love this band. I mean, the new stuff is great, actually.
Oh no, I can't do it.
I'm
not even gonna get into a debate, but I just can't do it. not for me.
It's all right. It's all good.
So you kind of talked about this when talking about the counterpart stuff, but like emotion versus skill. I guess I already know where you're going with this. Like what's more important, I guess, between having like an emotional sound, like when you can feel, I guess, the emotion in the lyrics versus just skill, right? Just someone that can perform the lyrics to a certain level, maybe with just the techniques or where they're taking the vocals. But I guess those are two pretty different things. But I know you're all about emotion for sure, right?
Yeah, I'm a big sucker for like feely songs. I mean, when I listen to music, I realized that like recently, every song I like the most is a song that has, you know, that big, not breakdown, but that bit section where it's super feely and like heavy at the same time, and you like, it's the place where the vocalist gets super personal and super vulnerable.
Yeah,
this is the songs I like the most. And yeah, for me, I think the emotion is the first thing, but it's super important to have the skill too, because it's if you're just like a shitty vocalist and you sound like shit and you do like super emotional stuff, it's just gonna sound like a dude who's crying and not actually doing vocals. So
you know what,
you have to have the skills to pull it off.
You know what though? What you exactly the way you said it is perfect, because I kind of feel differently in the sense that I was brought up on emo, right? And there were, I know we're usually talking about metal and stuff, but for anything that's emo, specifically emo that didn't necessarily have a whole lot of screaming in it, well, even the screaming, I mean, the screams in emo music were a lot of the times pretty fucking terrible, but the singing especially sometimes was just atrocious. And for whatever reason, a lot of these bands became fucking huge. Like people could relate to it. People could fuck with it. So I think that, you know, the emotion, everything you described about the emotion, I think applies here. But when it comes to skill, I definitely think that there are certain genres or certain styles of music that can cater a lot more easily to not really knowing what you're doing vocal wise.
I mean, for the first waves of like modern emo bands, like I think the characteristic sound was like, you know, this like crying-ish like scream fry with some like really like just a dude who's screaming as loud as he can type of sound. Yeah, and it works like 100% with that style of music. So yeah. I mean,
sometimes sometimes skill isn't necessarily required, but you see, my thing with, if we're talking emotion versus skill, like I think my main problem with vocals that go emotional, it's not really the vocals themselves, it's usually the type of music that comes along with it. I think a lot of this music is maybe longer format, is maybe have more. I feel like when it's super emotional, these songs usually go to a really slower pace. Like there's maybe some more spacey kind of riffing going on and stuff like that. And that I can't stand. So I usually have a hard time with anything that becomes too emotional, just because of the rest of the context of the songs. I do have some songs that I really, really enjoy that are definitely like pure like emotion and not so much necessarily skill, but those are kind of few and far between, and it's because I think the rest of the song, like instrumentally, kind of caters more to my taste. But
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think
I don't mind the vocal. It's like what comes. Yeah, it's what comes with it.
I think the same way, because there's quite a lot of songs where, you know, the section where it gets like less heavy or less, you know, less technical is the section where it gets emotional, and it's always, I feel like, the part where bands, you know, they write a bridge to write a bridge, and they don't put the same effort in writing that section where it's their vocalist that will shine. It's like, but everyone has to put their A game anyway. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, let's this kind of transitions well. We're gonna do this rapid fire because we have been talking for a little while, but let's do. I've got a series of vocal trends here that we're going to go through, and we're going to yay or nay them. All right.
Yep.
Phase Bozeman gutturals.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. Yeah, I can agree with that. There was a time where everyone tried to be Phil Bozeman.
Yes.
Like everyone.
Yes, that's true. Like a couple years
metal
ago,
vocalist wanted to be Phil Bozeman and have his lows. And for a time, that became kind of oversaturated and kind of made the vocal style a bit stale. But I feel we're in a better place now. I can fuck with good Phil Bozeman gutturals. Will always have a place in my heart.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like the bread and butter of like deathcore and stuff. You have to have like a bit of those gutturals like sprinkled somewhere to have that spirit, that deathcore spirit.
Super low / super high vocals like that very high contrast, like the shrieking highs, and then at the same time trying to black tongue your way through a song.
For me, I think it's nay on this one because I prefer something that's more balanced. And when you just go in the extreme, to go in the extreme just for the clout.
Yeah,
that's not for me.
This falls in the same category for me as, and this is a big thing in I want to say death metal, but like deathcore, and it's all about extremes, right? So who can go the lowest, who can go the highest, who can go the fastest, whether it be vocals or just speed of a song, who can go the slowest, who has the slowest breakdown. All that kind of stuff to me is just trying to hit a new extreme. And while some cases of that can ultimately turn into something cool, like Arcspire for me is a great example of something that I think it works for them, trying to be like that super fast band. But most of the times it just falls flat to me. Zombie vocals.
It depends. Like Dickie Allen, okay, but the others maybe. I don't know.
Because one guy can do it. It all depends on how it's done and how I think it usually comes down to tastefulness and how it's used.
It's always the name of the game.
Yeah, if it was just zombie vocals from start to finish, I wouldn't be able to do it. And there are certain extremes again within the zombie highs that I could do with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Slam vocals, which kind of go hand in hand, I guess, and or maybe the opposite direction. But slam, like guttural, kind of incomprehensible low vocals.
Nay for me. I mean, like it goes hand in hand with my other opinions. Like I want to hear the lyrics, so I won't even like bother checking out too much bands where I can't even understand what the boy is saying. So
I think it's a big trend right now, and I can't get into it. And every time I see a lyric video for some of these slam bands, I feel so bad for the dude who had to make that video. Yeah. Like, there's no way anyone except the vocalist of the band made that video.
Like, exactly.
Because you've just got this incomprehensible, like, 15-second bit, and like, there's just like lyrics going off on the screen, and you're like, there's no way. Like,
no, it's impossible. It's physically impossible to understand. Doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
For all I know, maybe it's like what you did before with your first band, like saying nothing. I mean, could be it.
Yeah, it could be. Pig squeals.
I think I'm kind of a sucker for good pig squeals. I want to have the whole album with no pig squeal, and then there's like one place where there's going to be like a super heavy breakdown or something, and then there's going to be like a couple words in pig squeal. That I love to do it live too. When I was playing shows, I'd love to do some pig squeal, like unannounced, like just like a whole line in pig squeal.
It's like, here, take this,
just to fuck around. That's so good, man. I like it.
Yeah. I can't deal with I can't deal with, let's say, like a pig squeal like riff. But I really do enjoy when, again, tastefully, but when a word kind of transitions into a pig squeal or ends in kind of a pig squeal, again, also if it's like a pig squeal going straight into a breakdown, like instead of having a call out or having a long like low guttural or something, it's a pig squeal instead, I can fuck with that. I think there's a lot of nostalgia involved in pig squeals for me personally. I think if I was just getting into metal today, maybe I wouldn't feel the same way, but yeah, that's my thoughts.
I'm a vegetarian anyway, so I won't eat pig.
Okay, there. Featuring Courtney Laplante.
Yeah, I mean, Courtney's everywhere these days, and it's okay because she's
I think it's
really,
awesome,
really good.
dude.
Yeah,
It's
there's
fucking
not
great.
enough women.
I'm so stoked that Spiritbox is getting the recognition that they're getting right now, and that there's this
It's
much
so
hype
good.
around their new album.
They're the best in my opinion. Like, Spiritbox is probably the best new metalcore band like around.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It's not even like a
last year or something.
It's not even like 100% like my. It's not really like my thing. Like, it's definitely not like everything that I look for in a death metal band. Well, it's not death metal, but like in a metal band and a metalcore band. But there's just something about their energy and everything that they put out visually. And I've been stumbling a bunch on like interviews with Courtney and other people of the band and stuff like that. And it's always really interesting conversations. And they just look like really down to earth people, which at the end of the day doesn't really change anything for the music. But it's just I can appreciate what they're doing with the scene right now. It's cool to see.
Yeah, and I mean, you said it doesn't affect the music whether the people are cool or not, but I think it's even cooler to support people that are nice.
I feel like that's how a lot of people within the scene right now are viewing Spiritbox. People are they were doing their the tour with Limp Bizkit, and that shit got shut down after a few shows, and we came as Romans, and like the guitarist from Shinedown like just sent them money. I think the guitarist from Shinedown sent them like 10 grand, and they don't know the dude.
Crazy, man.
They don't know.
Oh yeah, just like
they don't know him, and but I think that within the scene right now, people just like recognize like their hustle and like what they're doing, and that they seem like really like cool people, and people appreciate what they're doing for the scene. So people are just like all in. It's like, yeah, like I'm gonna help these guys out. Like, fuck yeah. Dude, that's so cool. That's
amazing.
See. Yeah.
And I mean, there's not enough women in general in metal, so that's great to see someone with like this skill and this like vision for a band that is a woman. That's amazing to see.
I think it's breaking down a lot of stereotypes, and she's been talking a lot about it. She has a podcast called Good for a Girl, which I find is such an amazing name. Like all her life, she's been told like, oh, like you do this thing, you're good for a girl, right? Like there's always this misogynistic like undertone to everything when it comes to women in the scene, especially. I mean, in life in general, but especially within the metal scene. And I think she's proving a lot of people wrong and turning a lot of heads in a positive way. So
it's really important stuff right there.
Yeah. Thoughts on this is going to be our final thing. While we're on the topic of her doing a bunch of features on everyone's songs, what are your thoughts on vocal features in general? Because I have, it's kind of weird for me when I see a band put out an album and like 7 of their songs have featurings on them. Like,
yeah, me too.
Like I feel like it's like we get it. Like
yeah.
It's all right, cool. Like every single song has a reason to be listened to, and it's not the band, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's. I mean, it has the opposite effect you want it to have. Like to like, you know, I mean, I don't like bands that will do like you said, a bunch of featurings just for the clout. I think like you just want to have big names on the record just for people to click on the songs.
Yeah.
I mean, I like bands that
I'm all for friends and stuff hopping on tracks. That's super fucking cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really nice.
Yeah. Like,
and like one of my favorite featurings that, you know, feels like it's a friend thing. It's on the song Storm Drains.
Very
by
Fit for an Autopsy
with with Brendan Murphy.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally another whole band like started because of that.
Right.
Like, and it's the first time like Will Putney and Brendan Murphy. I mean, I say that, but I don't know. But I mean, it feels like it gave the two guys, I mean, an incentive to do music together. And then we have like one of the heaviest fucking bands around.
Right. I'm in a weird, I guess, headspace with all this, because if I look at Depths of Hatred, okay,
mm-hmm.
the song that put us on the map, was
mm-hmm.
Revocation, and the only reason it blew up was because of the vocal feature that was on the track. I think if it wasn't for the music video that came along with it and what happens in that music video pertaining to said vocalist, it wouldn't have had the same impact. Like if we had put out a lyric video, or if we had just put out the track without anything else, it wouldn't have done nearly as much for us as it did. But it's still the fact that people to this day go up to the band, and if they don't really know the band, and then you mention like the Tricycle, they'll be like, "Oh, right, I have heard this band before," right? Like it's just one of those things. And I guess the Tricycle isn't like a vocal feature in itself, but you know what I mean. Like it's the fact that there was a vocal feature on that track is what changed everything for that song. And I mean, we'll never know what the trajectory of the band would have been without that. Like there's no like I'm not like discounting anything else we've ever done and saying that if it wasn't for that we wouldn't have gone anywhere, but there was a part of it at least that came from that. And then on top of that, I guess not the record after that, we had no features on the album after that. And then
on Hellborn? No, I don't think so.
No, and then the EP that we did afterwards, we got Julian from Faceless, ex-Igian, to feature on a track, but he's someone that we toured with and I talk with every now and then. Good friend. We had guitar solo.
Yeah, Matt Perrin,
that, and like friends with Angel Maker and Matt and all that. So we did that. And then we just found Mark Poita of X Version's Crown to have like crazy ass vocals. So when we were thinking about like a single, like just like one, like a vocalist that we thought could add something to a song and that we'd be like proud to have on one of our songs, that was the guy that we thought of. So on that 5-track EP, there's 3 features, right? Yeah. So I can't sit here and say that vocal features are like a gimmick or whatever, because it definitely is a marketing aspect to it all, right?
I remembered, for sure, and I remembered the song, by Get the Shot, Black and Sun.
Mm-hmm.
With the dude from
Jesse, right?
Yeah, dude. I mean, yeah, Jesse. And I think they're friends, like with the band or something. Mm-hmm. But in this particular case, it adds so much to the song.
Right.
Like, if he wasn't there, it wouldn't have been like as good as it turned out to be, I think.
Yeah, I think that's something too, right? Like a lot of bands will get people on their tracks because why not? It's a name that they can get on a track, and maybe it adds to the marketing, maybe it adds to their clout or whatever. But if it doesn't ultimately actually add something to the track, like what are you doing, right? Like
exactly.
I heard a song the other day with Tom Barber of Chelsea Grin on the track, and I listened to the entire track. I was waiting for his feature to come in. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell where he came in. And I know his vocals, and he's got a fairly like unique vocal style. I find like I'm pretty sure I could recognize him on any other track, but this track in particular, I was like, I don't know where he came in. So what was that actually adding outside of just having his name in the YouTube title, right?
Yeah, some more clicks on that video.
It's weird. It's yeah. I don't know. So
I'm not a big fan of those kind of featurings.
I think if it makes sense, it makes sense, I guess. But I think a lot of smaller bands think that having a vocal feature is like a dream come true for them to be able to like quote unquote work with some of these people, when in reality it's like, if the money's there, they'll do it, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's not necessarily like, oh yeah, this vocalist is now a big fucking fan of your band, is gonna bring you on tour and is gonna make your band blow up. Like that's not what happens. But I think a lot of people kind of have that vision.
Yeah, that vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the featurings and people that we had on our music, like Elliot from Beneath the Massacre, he's childhood friends with the guys in the band. That was like a natural thing. It wasn't like we weren't chasing for a clout. We just thought it'd be cool to have a friend on a track. And it was the same thing for any of the other featurings we did. Outside of, like I said, Mark, we were like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like, why not? But we didn't expect like that track to blow up or not blow up because of, like, we were doing it for ourselves. It was like, yeah, it'd be fucking awesome to have like this part of the track do something that like at the time I was doing the vocals, and I was like, I can't do any of the shit he does, so this is gonna be something cool, right? It's gonna add to the song.
I mean, the problem starts when you said it basically. The issue starts when you want to have like more results on a track because of the people you bring in. But as long as it stays like with good intentions and just like, oh, I want to have this guy because he sounds cool, or I want to have this guy or this girl because she's my friend, it's perfect.
I think more metal bands should be getting vocalists from completely random scenes. And I think on from a marketing standpoint, that would go over so well too. Like getting vocalists from completely unrelated genres. That'd be so cool to see. I think we need more of that.
Rappers.
There's no point most of the time of having like another deathcore vocalist on your deathcore track. But I mean, getting someone completely unrelated would really kind of add some shit to your track.
Dude, what you're saying makes me think about that song from it's Shadow of Intent, like the song The Catacombs. Where there's like Alex Terrible, there's Dickie Allen on that track too, and there's another guy, I think. And it's like my least favorite song of Shadow of Intent, and I like this band a lot.
Yeah, and you like the vocalists that are featured on it, but it's like,
dude, exactly. And I love like Bandword to death, but this song is just not cutting it for me. Just it's too much thing going on, and it's just like, oh, bring all my friends that do the most extreme vocals I can think about. And it's like, let's go, like, give it everything you have, and it just doesn't work, I think.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
All right, now that we've shit on a few bands, I think we're gonna end it there before we go overboard.
Yep, that was great, man.
Yeah. So to anyone listening, thank you guys. If you're still here, I mean, that's probably, I don't know how long we've been running, but definitely over an hour. So not 2 hours though. Not 2 hours.
150.
We've been improving. It'll get better with each one. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to, you can do your shout outs. Where can we find you? Where can we listen to your band's music and stuff?
Everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Nephalite. It's my deathcore band with my friends, and I have a YouTube channel called Barely Yu-Gi-Oh with the bassist of Nephalite, Sammy, and we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh, we're opening packs, everything, and here breakdowns for breakfast with my boy Dom Des. So that's basically it.
That's it. And for my part, I do DeathlessTV. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're already on that channel. If you're listening to the podcast audio format, you can check out DeathlessTV on youtube.com just by searching DeathlessTV. And all the links will be in the show notes. Deathless is like kind of just a channel where I upload anything music related, kind of like the talks that we're having right now, but I do it solo most of the time and just kind of react to, I don't even know. I've been trying to do so many different things. So basically I talk about deathcore and metal, and that's what you can expect over there. And I think that's gonna wrap it up.
Yeah, boy.
All right. Take care, man.
Ciao, ciao.